As we turn the page from 49ers Commanders to now 49ers Rams, and we start to look ahead at everything that is coming down the pipe, it is pretty cool that we got some interesting insight from 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy on the point play that has kind of taken over. As you guys remember, in that game against the Commanders, Brock Purdy scrambling around, doing all these different types of things. And then he points to Brandon Aiyuk towards the back of the end zone and finds Brandon Aiyuk for a touchdown, for a really phenomenal play. And again, we always have fun with it, poking fun at the game manager title that he gets. Like, this play is all Brock Purdy, basically orchestrating a broken play and turning it into a touchdown. It's the opposite of a game manager, at least the way it's contextualized, right? So it's cool to hear him kind of break it down, but he also kind of talks about the Ravens game a little bit, kind of how he's still thinking about it. And I think he kind of let it slip a little bit that he wants to see the Ravens maybe again one more time. But hey, take a listen to what Brock Purdy had to say about this awesome play that they had against the Commanders, and kind of talking about the Ravens a little bit. Take a listen right here.
So you love it. Just looking back on last week, there is one play I wanted to ask about, the Brandon Aiyuk touchdown, where you end up with a free rusher in your face, rolling back on yourself, and then you start pointing out exactly where you want him to go in the pocket, I think on two separate occasions as you're rolling out as well. Talk us through how you saw that play and just give us an idea of, it feels like something that you've really developed over the last couple of years, and we just get to see you having those big moments in games is a real joy to see.
Yeah, I was just going through my progression. It was third down, and they were playing pretty soft, and they did a good job of just keeping everything in front. And then I ended up getting a guy in my face with the pass rush, and so I just tried to scramble. And once I got out into space, we do a really good job of just preaching to the guys throughout the week, like, hey, if we're in a scramble drill, got to find space. The play's never dead. And Aiyuk, sure enough, is running in the back of the end zone, and I'm like, all right. Everyone's flowing to the right. If I could just get him to go back left and set up and throw and get it to him, we can make something special happen here. And sure enough, I saw his eyes, man, like 30 yards away. I could see him just looking straight through my soul. And I was like, all right, dude, go back left. And he did. So he's done a great job with that on the scramble drill all year. And, our connection has continued to grow and build. So I was excited we were able to get that done.
I love that as well. And I remember talking to George probably 2, 3 games after you first started and talking to him about your confidence and how you've been in practice. And he talked about the way that you went into the huddle the first week when we knew you were going to be a starter after Jimmy went down, and you just immediately seemed to have that command of guys. You just talked about like drilling that idea of what to do on the scramble drill to guys, that you're telling people how you want them to run routes, what you like to see. For you, yeah, where does that come from as a guy? You're 24 years old, coming into the league in the position you came in. Was that just something where you had to almost fake it till you make it? Or did you feel that confidence from moment one that you were going to be the guy and that, this was going to be the best way to achieve what you wanted?
Yeah, man, I had 4 years of experience in college, and so, sort of digging back and going back into that and remembering like what I did throughout college and how I coached, the guys that I was playing with, and routes and timing, and just confidence, like building them up. And I feel like all those years sort of added up. And then once I got my opportunity here, it was real. It wasn't like I have to jump in and act like I'm confident. I just jumped right in and was like, okay, what's the goal here? We're trying to win. We're trying to get a first down on this play or whatever. And I'm going to go in and rip off a play in the huddle and tell the guys, what we're trying to do. And so I was myself right when I got in. I wasn't trying to be somebody else or anything like that. And from the get-go, man, it's like when you're in the NFL, you got to believe in yourself. You got to have confidence that you have what it takes to play at this level. And so that was my mindset going in right when I got in. And sure enough, we were able to, get some first downs, score some points, win some games. And then the confidence just kept building and getting bigger from there. So have some great guys around me that helped me out with it and gave me some great advice. I learned from Jimmy how he handled the offense and the way he commanded things. So add all those things up, and that's what you got.
I want to ask about a couple of the guys who've been around you, but first you talk a lot about learning and that development and growing in confidence. What do you feel you learned from the Ravens game a couple of weeks ago? What did you take away from that performance?
Yeah, it's obviously the first interception was on me, and all of them are, but that first one was like, all right, we had momentum, things were going well. You got to do your job. And for me, I needed to progress and check the ball down and win the game with my mind rather than trying to be a superhero and get caught up in a big throw or a big play. And that was definitely something I had to learn, obviously the hard way. And then the picks that came after that were unfortunate how they went down, but still I can be better on them. And for me, it's like, all right, when those things happen, how do you respond? How do you, play with a clear mind still, with conviction and still being aggressive as a quarterback? Those are all things that I learned and we watched the film and what I took away from it. So, it obviously sucks going through it. And it was a big game and everything in the season that we all wanted really badly. But man, you got to learn from it. You got to grow. You got to be willing to pick yourself up, look in the mirror, and be like, okay, we got a game this week, and I have to be the best this week. And you got to learn from it. So that's, I think, what I took away the most from it. Obviously, there's some plays, some tip balls and stuff where I'm like, man, wish we could have had those plays back, but that's the way it goes. That's the game. That's the football. And you know, you got to live to play another down, and every play has a life of its own. So.
And look, it's an incredible defense, of course, how multiple they are in the front, all those BB blitzes, the disguises, everything. But I mean, nothing better than, as much as film is great, nothing better than watching them. If the bookies are to be believed, you might get another shot at them in a few weeks' time. I know you're just going to tell me you guys are taking it one game at a time, one job at a time. But I'm excited to see if that ends up being where we are in Vegas in a few weeks. Then I think that's everyone wants to see that happen again. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a cool game for sure, and would definitely be excited to play them again. And I mean that. But obviously, we can't get caught up in trying to get to a game to play the Ravens again or anything like that. It's, we do have to take it one game at a time, one play at a time. We get caught up in the future, then you'll slip up real easily. This is a league that'll humble you pretty quickly if you're trying to think of what's down the road. And so we have to be where our feet are at, and it'll fall into place how it needs to.
I like the part where Brock Purdy says Brandon Aiyuk is staring through his soul. But to be honest, like, the fact that he could feel that from that many yards away and is able to direct Brandon Aiyuk in real time to get him to cut back and go back against the grain where the open zone is in the end zone and then just deliver a dart. It's actually really cool. And again, continues to speak to the connection that him and Brandon Aiyuk have. Their connection has been on point, and this goes back to training camp this year. It was one of my biggest takeaways from training camp was just watching those two guys get after it. And obviously that has translated to this season where Brandon Aiyuk has eclipsed over 1,300 receiving yards and is now back-to-back 1K wide receiver. So shout out to BA1K and Brock Purdy and their continued connection. But again, also cool to, he was talking about the Ravens game, and we've heard a lot about the Ravens game. And I think he kind of like alluded to the fact, he's like, you know what, I would like to play the Ravens again. And then he's like, but we can't look too far ahead. Like, Brock is so good at reminding whoever he's talking to that he's trying to look at this one day at a time, one game at a time, one play at a time. That is such a fundamental mentality of a football player because you have to. You can't get too high, you can't get too low because you're going to have a really bad play and you're going to have a really good play. And it's trying to find that middle ground through both of those situations that you can just keep getting your job done. And as a quarterback, no more important of a position than to have to stay even keel, not only for yourself, but for your teammates, because everyone's looking at you to get the job done. So Brock kind of was like, yeah, I would like to see him again. And then he's like, yeah, but I can't look too far ahead. I was like, okay, nice save, Brock. Nice save. But I've talked about this myself. I would love to see the Ravens again in the Super Bowl because I don't feel like that game on Christmas. I don't feel like that is representative of the 49. We talk about games all the time. Like sometimes you get blown out. Sometimes it's a dogfight to the very end. That was just a weird one. It just the weird momentum. It wasn't even like it was competitive, but at the same time, it was just like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. So that's why I'm like, I would actually like to see the Ravens again, just to be able to square up and see what the second game looks like, because I really do feel like it would go much differently with, maybe those crazy bounces not going the Ravens' way. Because if you take away those 3 interceptions, the game's completely different. And of course, credit the Ravens. They forced those turnovers. All those, we're not trying to make excuses or anything like that. But again, it's just, I'm kind of like, I wouldn't mind seeing the Ravens again, because, hey, out of halftime, it was 16-12. They had 3 interceptions at the time. And then again, it was like a snowball effect right out the second half. And then there's just really difficult for them to kind of get back into it. And then Brock has the stinger. And like, I would imagine Brock Purdy's kind of got like not a good taste in his mouth from that one. So it's got potential. He's not, it's like, I wouldn't mind seeing the Ravens again. I got something for those guys. So what did you guys think of kind of Brock Purdy talking about the point play? What do you think about his thoughts about the Ravens? I thought it was pretty cool, whole situation. I'm going to link the full interview in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.